All right, let's talk about solar energy. But this isn't just about panels on a roof. We're going to trace its incredible journey, a story that, believe it or not, doesn't start in a lab. It starts way back in ancient civilizations, and then rockets all the way to today. This quote really hits it on the head. For literally thousands of years, we've been looking up at the sun, completely captivated. It was warmth, it was life, and for a lot of cultures, it was a literal god. But that deep, almost spiritual connection, that was just the very first step in a long, long quest to actually harness all that power. So, our story kicks off way before anyone even thought about electricity. I mean, think about ancient Egypt. The sun god Ra was everything to them, central to their whole world. But it wasn't just about worship. Over in Greece and Rome, people were already getting clever. Architects were designing homes with south-facing windows specifically to grab sunlight for heat. You could say they were the world's first solar engineers, right? And for centuries, that was pretty much it. That was as far as our solar ambition went. But then, 1839 happens, and the story takes this massive turn from architecture into the world of physics. There's this young French physicist, Alexander Edmond Becquerel, just messing around in his lab when he stumbles onto something that would literally change everything. So what did he find? He discovered what we now call the photovoltaic effect. And this is the absolute key that unlocks all modern solar power. It's this amazing principle that when light hits certain materials, they can create an electric current. That's it. Becquerel had found the spark, but man, it was going to take more than 100 years for that spark to really catch fire. Okay, so that brings us to the next part of the story, because, discovering a scientific principle is one thing, but turning it into a piece of tech that you can actually use, that's a whole other ball game. And this was a long, slow journey, taking us from this little lab curiosity all the way up to being the silent power source of the space age. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Over 115 years passed between Becquerel's discovery and the big breakthrough. That didn't happen until 1954 at Bell Labs, when scientists finally created the first practical silicon solar cell. And get this, its first major use wasn't even on Earth. It was way up in the final frontier, powering satellites as they silently orbited the planet. Just try to picture that moment at Bell Labs. All that science, all that history, all leading up to a single little light bulb, flickering to life, powered only by the sun. I know it sounds small, but that was the proof of concept. That was the moment this whole revolution went from being a possibility to being pretty much inevitable. And wow, the difference between then and now is just huge. Back in the 60s, solar was this exotic, crazy expensive tech that was only for high-stakes space missions. For anyone on the ground, it was a total non-starter. So what changed? What was the thing that finally brought solar power down to Earth? Well, the answer came in the form of a full-blown crisis. The oil shocks of the 1970s sent a massive tremor through the entire global economy. All of a sudden, the world realized just how fragile its dependence on a single fuel was. The search for alternatives went from nice to have to we need this now. And solar energy, well, it was about to get its big break. I mean, think about it. What happens when the energy that powers your industries, your cities, your entire way of life is suddenly threatened? You don't just sit around hoping for a solution, right? You get to work building one. And that crisis, it forced a huge shift in thinking all around the world. And solar was right there, waiting in the wings. So this crisis was like hitting the gas pedal. Governments got seriously spooked by how vulnerable they were, so they started pouring money into solar research. All of a sudden, scientists had real incentives to make these cells cheaper and way more efficient. And slowly, but surely, solar panels started showing up not just on satellites anymore, but on actual rooftops. Those seeds that were planted back in the 70s, well, they took a couple of decades to really take root. But when they did, they just exploded. The 21st century has seen a solar boom that is truly epic, completely changing the global energy game at a speed almost nobody saw coming. Okay, let's just stop and think about this number for a second. 1 terawatt. That's 1 million megawatts. It's a number so huge it's almost hard to wrap your head around it. And the world just recently crossed that milestone for installed solar capacity. It's just a massive testament to how far and how fast this has all happened. And this isn't just happening in one place. It's a totally global thing. I mean, yeah, China is leading the charge in a huge way, but you've got the US, India, Japan, Germany, they're all major players. Solar panels are everywhere now, on people's homes, in these gigantic desert farms, and they're even floating them on lakes and reservoirs.
All right, so we've looked at the ancient past and the absolutely explosive present, but here's the thing. The innovation is not slowing down. If anything, it's speeding up. So the big question is, what's next?
Well, one of the biggest reasons for the boom has been this relentless push for more efficiency. Think about it. Those first cells from Bell Labs, they converted less than 5% of sunlight into electricity. Today, your standard panel is hitting somewhere between 18 and 22%. And the stuff they're working on in labs is even higher. We are just getting so much better at this game.
And the next wave of tech is where it gets really exciting. You've got scientists working on new materials like perovskites that could be cheaper and more efficient. We're developing what's called building integrated photovoltaics. We're talking solar windows that could turn an entire skyscraper into a power plant. And we're seeing more and more of those floating solar farms to save precious land space. The future really is about integration. And look, as our planet keeps warming, the why behind all this just becomes crystal clear, doesn't it? It's clean, zero carbon emissions. It's incredibly scalable. You can use it to power a single light in a village or an entire city. And it's empowering, creating local jobs and giving people real energy independence. It's not just an option anymore, it's an absolutely essential tool for our future. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The International Energy Agency, these guys are one of the top authorities in the world. They project that solar is on track to be the #1 source of electricity on the entire planet by the 2040s. We're not talking about a niche alternative here. We're talking about the very foundation of our future energy grid. And that just brings us right back to where we started. Full circle. We went from looking at the sun as this distant, powerful god to understanding it as a partner. Our whole relationship with it has changed. It's gone from worship to collaboration. Now, we're literally working with our star to power our world. The incredible story of solar energy is still being written, and the pace is just getting faster every single day. The sun is up there, offering us a basically limitless source of power. So the only real question left is, what are we, all of us, going to write in the next chapter?